Hello and welcome to We Never Met, the podcast where I have interesting strangers I've never met before on. Today we have Kyle Vetter. Is that how you say your last name?
That is, yeah.
Nailed it. Any relation to, is it Eddie Vetter? Is that who?
Yeah, he's my uncle.
That'd be crazy, though.
That was my story growing up anyway.
Yeah.
But it's funny because he's DDER and
oh
I'm
yeah,
TTER.
that's true.
Yeah,
true.
So if you don't see it written down, people fall for it.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
I have the same problem with Kierkegaard, who's a philosopher. Danish philosopher, spelled differently, but I always just say, yeah, I'm related.
For sure.
Because why not?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And you are the owner of 1840 Brewing.
That's right.
Yeah. And we are here actually right now, as
Welcome.
you can see on the video. But essentially, I wanted to reach out to you. I've never talked to an owner of a brewery before in my life.
Cool.
So I have so many questions.
Yeah.
So many things that I'm curious about. And before we even started, we were talking about the brand in general.
Sure.
So where does 1840 come from, first of all?
So 1840 was the first year a commercial brewery started in the city of Milwaukee.
Oh.
And that's neat because that's 6 years before we were actually a city.
Yeah.
And so it calls to mind both the types of beers we make. We make a lot of historical styles that are old. We make them in oak barrels.
You can see
we don't have. Yeah, you can see them everywhere. And we don't have a very automated anything. The most automated thing we have in here is a pump. So it does two things. It pays homage to Milwaukee's rich brewing heritage while also calling to mind the types of beers we make.
Sure. So where does all the conceptual design for all the bottles and stuff come from? Where did that go?
I work with a firm here in Bayview called Rev Pop.
Okay.
And they're a design and marketing firm. They do some stuff in the beverage and food industry, but they do things across, anybody who's interested in marketing services.
Yeah.
And it was fun because I reached out to them when we first started and was like, okay, my brand is a number. So good luck with that, because I also need to have merchandise and other things that are appealing. And at the end of the day, just looking at the four numbers over and over is going to probably get old.
Yeah.
So one thing a lot of people miss in our logo is the turtle. I don't know.
Let me see if I can
Not
see
on the
it.
glass, but check this out.
I was going to look at your shirt.
So on the coaster here, you can see it.
Oh, I do see it. Yeah, right there.
So on the top of the logo is a turtle where his shell is an oak barrel with a tap in it.
Okay.
And so, our slogan is drink slow beer.
Yeah.
And it's because a lot of the beer we make is extensively aged, or in some cases fermented and then aged directly in oak barrels.
Right. Yeah.
And so we have beers that we can put in an oak barrel, and it's in there for 3 or 4 months. And we have other beers. We have a project right now where we're going to have a beer that's going to be in a barrel for 18 months before we release it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does it ever get frustrating for you? Because I feel like it would be hard for me to wait. Maybe that's the millennial inside of me. I'm 18 months.
It's
dang.
hard. It was harder when we first started.
Oh, I bet, because you're trying to get production out and stuff, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these are all new recipes, and I'm nervous. Are they going to taste good? Are they almost ready? And all this stuff. We have timelines. And so I wanted to taste them all the time. So I made a rule that we never touch a barrel. Let's say we take a sample, we don't even think about it for another month.
Yeah.
So the most we would ever sample a barrel will be once a month. But really, we don't even do it that much anymore. We really know, okay, this beer is going to need to be in there for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
And before we even want to think about it. And so we'll just leave it there for 6 months, and then we'll check back in and start maybe our monthly check-ins in order to, figure out when it's exactly ready.
Sure. Yeah. And so I guess where does that whole concept come from? Because you have a very unique approach to brewing, which is different than, I mean, I'm not that familiar with the brewing game, but I've never seen this sitting in someone's brewery. So where did that come from? Yeah.
It kind of all started. So I used to brew. My most recent job before this, my longest period of being at any one brewery was Aspen Brewing Company.
Yeah.
And we made a ton of beer there, and we did barrel projects every once in a while.
Okay.
And that was the stuff that I really just found super fascinating.
Yeah.
I love brewing. The act of brewing is something I really enjoy doing.
Sure.
I read about it. I study it. I follow brewers on social media. I'm really into it. But the thing that just really just inspired me more was barrel aging and barrel fermenting.
Yeah.
And I came across a number of years ago Side Project Brewing in St. Louis.
Okay.
And this guy, Corey King, was the head brewer at Perennial, which is a well-known St. Louis brewery.
Yeah.
And he wanted to do the same thing. He had come from the wine world, wanted to do the same thing. And he actually tucked some barrels in the corner And his boss was like, yeah, you can take those, make them your brand, launch your own brand. And he's gone on to find great success under that brand.
Wow.
And so I came across him and I was like, that is a really unique idea.
Yeah.
And while I chatted with the owner of Aspen about maybe possibly doing something like that,
sure,
didn't align with his game plan, and which was fine. We're still buddies. So we just decided, all right, let's look into this, doing it on our own.
Sure.
And I grew up in the Milwaukee area. So we decided to bring the project back here because at the time we were looking at this.
Yeah.
There were things like this in other parts of the countries and other beer markets, but Milwaukee market was incredibly underserved at the time.
Yeah.
And so we decided to, all right, let's dive in, let's follow the passion and bring it to a new market so we can kind of be on the cutting edge and expose people to new things and hopefully get them excited about our brand.
Yeah. So you grew up here, right?
I grew up in
Milwaukee.
Mequon.
Oh, Mequon. Okay.
Yep.
So when you were growing up, was this like your thought? Like, were you like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a brewer.
Definitely not.
I'm going to own my own business. Like, what was your ideal? Like, what were you growing up and being like, I want to go to this? Because you went to college in Colorado.
Yep.
So did you go for something similar or something completely different?
I joke and I say I went for skiing.
Yeah, you went for the mountains.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I went for the recreational lifestyle.
Yeah.
I grew up enjoying that stuff.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to camp and hike and climb and ski.
And it's beautiful there too.
It is.
Yeah.
And so I didn't define my major until I was a junior. And I ended up getting a humanities degree because my counselor was like, you only need X number of credits. You just have to take like 2 summer school courses, and you'll graduate on time with a humanities degree. And I was like, perfect.
I was just kind of picking different things to do.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
She's like, well, really, if you look at the classes you've taken, you focused on 3 areas of study, psychology, sociology, and political science. So if we just define those as the 3 focuses, one main and 2 minor focuses of your humanities degree, you're done.
Like, oh, okay, let's do that then. Yeah.
But then while at college, I developed a taste for beer while still living here.
As you would.
Much to my mother's chagrin while I was in high school. But then I got out to college, and in Colorado, the beer scene had already been moving for a while.
Oh, has it?
Oh, yeah.
Faster than here?
Oh yeah, they'd been developed at the time in my town in Durango, Colorado. There was more breweries per capita than any other town in the state of Colorado at that time.
Yeah,
and it was a small town. It was about the size of the town I grew up in.
Okay,
and so we had like 5 breweries. So
That's
it was part
crazy.
of the culture there, and I got to get exposed to a lot of things like unique beers with weird flavors.
Right, because everybody was brewing different stuff and trying to be unique, and I'm assuming,
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, the little liquor store down the street from my house had like 3 cooler doors of Colorado beers or medium-sized craft breweries from around the region. And it gave me the opportunity to explore flavors that I didn't even know existed. Yeah.
Did you take any inspiration from that to the beers you make now? Was there anything that you pulled from even that experience?
All along the way, I suppose, I like to think of myself as a lifelong learner. And so it's like, I'm trying to just pull from what I can remember of my history of these different experiences and incorporate that into new beers. So we're trying to follow trends and move with the market, but we're also trying to do things that are super historical or, I had a beer that I really liked at this one time and it was memorable. Let's try to do something like that.
Yeah. So talk about your experience at Aspen Brewing and how that was, because was that your first job in the brewing industry and like beer? Was that the first one you had?
No, a couple months after I turned 21 in Durango, I got the job.
You were right into it.
Oh yeah. I started brewing when I was 20, home brewing, because I got my fake ID taken away.
Oh.
And I was like,
screw that, I'm going to do it at my
let's
house.
make some beer,
Yeah. I don't need you guys.
And thankfully our first batch turned out pretty good. And I really enjoyed the process and started really learning about it and reading. I never really, like I said, I was turned on to this whole new world.
Yeah.
And then SCA was hiring, and I got a job at the bottom, just packaging and cellaring, and had a I had a pretty good chunk in there where I, quote, got a real job.
Okay.
Moved back here, sold real estate. I went to start a restaurant. It's a long story. But anyway,
There was a
gap in there.
Yeah.
Well, we started down the path of a restaurant. It didn't end up working out with my partner.
Was it here in Milwaukee?
Yep, in this area. And then, so I got out of that rather quickly, but I had already moved here.
Yeah.
And my wife was about to move here. And my mom is a very successful real estate agent in this area.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, I could use some help.
Yeah.
Come work for me and see how you like it, until you figure out what you want to do.
Sure.
Turns out I really liked it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love looking at real estate, so.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I got my license. I sold a myriad of things. We did, I was involved in almost $70 million in real estate transactions in 5.5 years. Yeah.
That's really good.
It was good.
Yeah.
But also, it burned me out. I just kind of I dreaded when my phone would ring.
Yeah.
Because it was always going to be some fire I had to put out.
Oh, yeah. What do you think about that job you didn't necessarily like? Like, what was it specifically? Was it like interacting with people that have like too many wants? Because that's what I always feel like it would be.
Yeah.
Like, I want everything, but I only can spend $100,000. So,
Totally.
Yeah.
The people part was the part that I liked.
Okay.
I liked looking at the properties, and I liked working with the people.
Yeah.
Contracts were cool too, but it was the negotiation part when everybody's at their worst, right?
Yeah.
I would joke that a real estate deal comes together when everyone's equally as unhappy as everyone else.
That's when you finally are like, fine.
All right, cool. We're done
do
now.
it. Yeah. Okay.
We did it.
Everyone's sad.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then a closing comes and everyone's happy again, whatever.
Yeah.
But you'd have this really intense relationship with people for 2 to 6 months.
Right.
And then you never talk to them again. So
it was weird. Yeah. You don't think about that.
Thing.
Because you think about you're selling them a house, so you're changing their life. That's great. But you don't think about they're going to try to negotiate you down, and you have to talk to the sellers about that, and it becomes like.
And then the other agents who's totally not on your team is going to come at you about, because they're doing the same thing for their client.
Right.
So it was, and we did a lot of business.
Yeah.
There was years there where we were, 50, 60 transactions in a year. So it's just a lot of work. You're closing a house almost a week. It's just a lot of work. And so,
does your mom own her own real estate company?
She does now. I think actually.
What is it?
She's got Remax Gallery.
Okay.
In Mequon.
For some reason, I thought it was. There's one up north a little bit more. It's like Powers or Kelly. I thought that was it.
Nope, not them.
They're the rivals.
Yeah, we don't need to mention that. Give them a free plug.
Yeah,
but Remax Gallery on Port Washington Road and Mequon Road in Mequon. No.
Yeah, go there if you need a house or you need a.
Yeah, no, it's interesting actually because she started her real estate career and they were in this one building for a little bit, and then they moved into this other building. Mm-hmm. It was Federated Realty, then it became Coldwell Banker, all while she was there.
Yeah.
And then actually a year after I moved back to Colorado, 2011, 2012, they moved offices.
Oh.
Well, what do you know? A couple of years later, my mom's opening her own firm, and she ends up renting that same building that she basically had her entire career in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's just kind of fun, full circle kind of thing. She remodeled it, made it beautiful, and that's what she's got going on. So that's doing it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, since you started home brewing, what is the difference for you? Because I feel like there's a lot of people. I mean, I read some statistics somewhere that there's more craft breweries starting up in the U.S. every single day than there are any other business. So what were you like? Were you very confident going into this? Were you like, I know how to make this different? Because you're extremely successful. In my estimation, at least.
No, the feedback has been awesome about the beers and the space. We've kind of tried to cultivate a unique experience that's friendly. Yeah. I mean, we're sitting at the bar here, and it's like family style at this end of the bar. You can
really
sit on both sides. So maybe you sit with someone you came with on the same side, and you sit across from someone and strike up a conversation. We wanted that family vibe.
Yeah.
So anyway, the feedback's been good about the space and how it's different, and we are definitely finding success, but I did not have the confidence to know that we were going to be in the position we're in when we started, but also didn't know that we were kind of towards the beginning part of this huge wave of breweries that are opening.
Sure.
So if you look at the Milwaukee market, the class of 15, 16, if you will, Third Space, Good City, City Lights, a couple other breweries, there was boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
I think when it came down to it, when we opened, and then Gathering Place opened 2 weeks after us,
okay,
we were somewhere, I think it was somewhere 13 breweries in 16 months, or I mean, it's a staggering stat.
Yeah.
And it's slowed down quite a bit.
Yeah.
That has been the trend across
Yeah.
the market, and where that burst happens to come, where breweries line up, has been different. But that wasn't something that I'd seen happening as much.
Sure.
You know, so we wanted to get into this, and we knew that breweries were opening and finding success, but you didn't hear about as many of them when we started the whole process to plan and find the building and renovate it and all these things. And that kind of changed while we were getting open. It was wild to kind of see all these breweries popping up and continue to pop up.
Yeah, still do now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think at least in my estimation from talking to you for, 30 minutes up to this point, do you think the difference, because I feel like there's a lot of breweries that are out there that fail, obviously within the first year. Do you think it's the passion that you have is that what kind of differentiates you? You're like, I want to go above and beyond and think of new ways, because I legitimately go home and do all this stuff anyways.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think that passion is kind of like the secret ingredient.
Yeah.
If you really care about what you're doing. Yeah. And that's all aspects of it. It's not just the beers we're making, even though we put a lot of thought into that. It's all that.
Yeah, branding.
Exactly. It's the vibe. I mean, the music we play, all the things. We think about all of that. The art on the walls. It's all, thoughtful, and we care really a lot about all that. And I think that's kind of that and time, as far as the barrel aged stuff, are the secret ingredients that we definitely capitalize on. Yeah. And you can tell also, I have a lot of experience. Yeah. I'm fortunate enough to have had a couple of jobs throughout my career in brewing. Yeah. And learned from some really talented people.
So it wasn't just let's just start one because I homebrew in my basement.
My uncle tells me my beers are great.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like some people start though because of that. They're like, oh yeah, I really love to brew beer in my basement, so let's just start a brewery and see what happens.
And I've said this before. Anybody who starts a brewery as a home brewer with no professional experience and finds success, my hat is off to you, because it is not.
I don't know how you do it, because I don't know where to start. I don't even know where to start.
Totally.
If I got a home brewing kit, which I have looked into.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, but I've looked into more of wine.
Sure.
I've tried to. I'm like, I really kind of want to make wine for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's just the making of something.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. But you got to know how to do it. It's so complex, and that's what I was going to ask you. What are some of the, especially with the barrel aged stuff, what are some of the challenges that you run into doing that? Is it? Do you ever? I mean, is it at a point now where you're so kind of refined where there isn't a barrel that's off and you have to chuck it?
No, we've definitely dumped some beer.
Yeah.
More beer than I would like. I never want to put.
What makes it get to that point where you have to dump it?
One time we had a batch of beer that we underpitched some yeast. We tried to reuse some yeast, and it just wasn't enough of a cell count. The yeast wasn't as viable as we thought, and so that beer developed acetone flavors like nail polish remover. Yeah. Which is a natural byproduct of fermentation, but normally through active fermentation, it doesn't really have a chance to develop. And if it does, it gets cleaned up because fermentation's still going and all these things. Well,
sure.
So there was a problem. It's the batch didn't turn out. We had to dump it.
Okay.
But we knew what the problem was, right?
Yeah.
But then in the barrel stuff, sometimes, you just have one that doesn't taste good. It's in this porous vessel for 18, 20 months, whatever, 6 months. It doesn't even matter. It's a long time.
Yeah.
And there's risks for sure. So we've been lucky that we haven't had to put a lot of our barrel aged stuff down the drain, because if you think about it, that's our most expensive beer we make. More expensive than our double IPAs and all this stuff that we dump a lot of hops into.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because those barrels are sitting there taking up precious limited space that we have for a long period of time, paying rent and not making any money.
Right. Yeah. So, just squatting, just waiting.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, what do you think? What was the space before, by the way? What was in here before?
So in this particular unit was a t-shirt printing company who's now since moved to the south side. It had been vacant for a while. When the building was built, it was all one big building all the way here to Kinnickinnick. And it was some industrial use, although I don't recall what that was. I should, because Bobby Tanzillo from Milwaukee did a brewery spelunking podcast. It's a thing he writes about, and he actually like wrote right in there what it was, but I can't remember.
You just glossed over it.
Yeah, no, I remember. I was like, oh, that's really not exciting. It's just a normal thing.
It was too like not weird that you wouldn't remember.
Exactly.
It was too mundane. But like, so what has been your proudest moment, like since opening? What has been like a really cool experience? Has it just been the, I guess, people's, reaction to this? Because it has been so positive. I have met every single person that has come here or gotten beer here has told me to come.
That's incredible.
And I have, this is my first time coming.
I mean, that right there is so for me, the fact that we've grown this business to what it is based on word of mouth and social media is awesome and special. But the two things I'm most proud of are, at one point last year in the spring. So when we were first open, we were only open one weekend a month.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And of that weekend, it was 4 days, but only one was for the public. 3 days were for members only.
Okay.
And so really I was open to the public once a month.
Yeah.
Sometimes more because we do like pop-up events, Halloween, New Year's, whatever. But one month, I think it was March or April of last year, we had a line that wrapped around the block to get in for the public day. We had. Did
you like cry that day? I probably would have been so
excited.
Proud.
Yeah, I wasn't like. I couldn't get that emotional because I had to serve all those people.
Yeah, they were waiting.
I was like, holy crap! Okay, game time.
Kyle's taking a break. He has to go.
Exactly. Like all right, we need to be ready to rock. So we kind of had to get ourselves pumped up, but it was really cool. I mean, while it's not the customer experience I wanted, and we made some changes to our business to eliminate the lines, it was really, really neat. An hour and 10-minute wait to get in the building. We sold out of one of our beers that we were releasing that day in like 2.5 hours. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So that was probably really cool. And like I said, we made changes to kill the line because I want people to come in here casually and enjoy beers and not have to feel like they have to like
wait in the cold,
be here in the cold or the rain or whatever, early in the morning, camping out and stuff.
Yeah.
And then other than that, it's just the fact that the feedback and the word of mouth. I mean, the feedback on the internet and all, everywhere where we can gather data from people as far as ratings or other things, they're all really, really great. And it's, that's what tells me that we're doing a good job is anytime I get a 5-star review on anything we do, any platform, it's like, yes, okay.
Yeah.
Like we're keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah. Cause I mean, that has to, I've never had an experience in my life yet. And I hope to have one day where people line up around the block for something that I'm doing.
For sure.
That is so cool.
It was really cool. Like I said, while it was touching for me, it was still like, okay, now that we've created
now I really
problem,
have to do this.
Yeah. We've created a problem. It's like, we need to fix this.
Yeah.
Most breweries be like, boom, this is exactly where we need to be.
I
just want that line to get longer and longer and longer.
And,
maybe we should have kept that and we should have just continued down that road. But I think what's cool now is that we're touching more people than we ever have. Even when we were getting lines, it was always kind of like the same group of people every month.
Sure.
But now what's been great is those people, I think, appreciated the fact that we made some changes to our business, pre-sold some beers to kill the line. They've always had a good experience when they come and they tell their friends.
Yeah. Was the line the only really thing that made you change your business? Like, at the beginning, it was, you said, memberships pretty much. Were those like, you sell memberships to someone and they can come in on a weekend or something? Is that essentially what it was?
So we sold memberships. So we were always open to the public the second Saturday of the month.
Yep.
And then we were open Thursday, Friday, and Sunday surrounding that second Saturday.
Yeah.
And that was it. And the members purchased their day. So some members were Thursday members, some were Fridays. And then the public came on Saturday. But really what it was is like, I sold out of a beer in 2.5 hours. People who were waiting in line didn't get the beer they wanted.
Oh, okay.
And that's what made me change it.
Yeah.
And so all we did was, because it's inventory management. The reason that we were having these quick sellouts is because I couldn't make a lot of beer. And so we've done two things. We for a while pre-sold all of our bottles to the public.
Gotcha.
And we also have reinvested in the business.
Yeah.
And I bought more tanks and bigger tanks, and we can make a lot more beer now. I've hired more staff, and I've done everything I can to make more.
Yeah.
To try to just keep the customer experience how I would want it to be. Like, I don't want to. I hate waiting in lines. I know a lot of beer people love it.
Do they?
Oh yeah, and it's funny. I had a guy the other day. I was like, "You like it?" He's like, "Well, yeah, because I always drink better beers waiting in line for the beer I'm waiting for."
That's kind of true.
Than the one that I'm about to buy. He's like, "But everybody brings all these fun beers and we're hanging out.
Yeah,
it's just an excuse to meet with your friends and stand around drinking cool stuff for a while."
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And so. Beyond that, I mean, you guys have also expanded into doing like collaborations and stuff with other breweries. How many have you done? Is there, do you have a count? Has it been a lot?
Yeah, it has been. We're going to be somewhere between 12 and 15 by the end of this month, or by the middle of April.
Okay.
And that's just this year.
How does that process work? Like, what is a collaboration for breweries? Because I always wonder that. Is it ideas? Is it like sharing facilities, or is it all of that?
To be honest with you, there's a couple of different ways to approach it.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, the main thing that it is just going and hanging out with your friends or some people that are new friends.
Yeah.
And making beer with them so that you can be exposed to their customers.
Okay.
That's really all it is. There's no financial, like, I don't get any money from these beers.
I
go and I brew at this other brewery. It's their beer. They keep it. They sell it. You know, now if it's a Wisconsin brewery, thankfully, the laws allow where I can purchase kegs from them and sell them here. So my customers can try this beer that I help make.
Yeah.
But if it's an out-of-state brewery, like I've worked with Forbidden Root and Microphone down in Chicago area, just came back from Minneapolis where I work with Dangerous Man and Back Channel.
Yeah,
I cannot serve those beers at my tap room because Wisconsin doesn't allow me to serve out-of-state beers under my brewery license.
Okay.
So at that point, it's really just about meeting new people, hanging out and learning something. Like, I'll tell you what, every time I go to a collaboration, I learn something, and I know that they learn something from me, and we have a great time, and we always make cool beers. But you know, it's really about exposure, and it's a cool way it's a cool thing that we can do in beer because it's such a social product.
Yeah, innately, yeah. You want to go out and hang out with someone and drink a beer, you know?
Yeah, and what do you do over beer? You sit around and talk yourself. And so it's the community is just so amazing in beer, and that's actually my wife and I love. That's really the reason that we decided to start a brewery, is because we just love the community of it. Beer's been bringing people together for centuries. Yeah, you know, as long as there's been humans cultivating grains, there's been beer. Yeah, and it's been bringing communities together that entire time.